The night I learned my husband was planning for my own life, I was sitting beneath a chandelier with 2 glasses of champty chair across from me.
It was our 15th wedding anniversary. Daniel had chosen the restaurant himself, a quiet place on the top floor of a hotel in downtown Chicago. From our table, I could see the river reflecting the city lights. I wore the burgundy blouse he once said made me look fearless. I had even brought him a gift, the silver watch he had stared at through a shop window 3 months earlier. At 7:15, he texted that he was leaving the office. At 7:40, he said traffic was terrible. At 8:10, he stopped answering. I kept making excuses for him until our server placed a sympathetic hand near my untouched plate and asked if I wanted the kitchen to hold my order. Then I saw Daniel. He was not entering the restaurant. He was crossing the lobby below, visible through the glass railing. His hand rested on the lower back of a woman in a white coat. Vanessa Cross. Vanessa was not a stranger. She was our business partner, my closest friend, and the woman who had stood beside me when my mother died. She had held my hand at the funeral. She had slept in my guest room when her divorce became ugly. She knew the code to my front door. Daniel leaned close and whispered something into her ear. Vanessa laughed, then kissed him. For one terrible second, the whole room went silent. I did not scream. I did not run downstairs. I did not throw my champagne at either of them. I watched. They crossed the lobby and entered an elevator. Daniel touched her face with a tenderness I had begged him to show me for months. My phone vibrated. "I'm so sorry," his message said. "Emergency meeting. I'll make it up to you." I read those words twice. Then I looked at the silver watch inside its velvet box and understood something important. The affair was not the most frightening part. The ease of the lie was. I paid the bill, took both glasses of champagne, and poured one into the other. I drank just enough to stop my hands from shaking. Then I asked the hotel clerk which conference rooms had been reserved by Bennett Cross Development. She checked her screen and smiled. "None tonight, Mrs. Bennett." Daniel and Vanessa had gone to the 12th floor. I went home alone. Our house in Lincoln Park looked exactly as it had that morning. Daniel's shoes were lined beneath the bench. Our wedding photograph sat on the piano. A bowl Vanessa had given us held keys by the door. Nothing had changed, yet everything had become evidence. I opened Daniel's desk, something I had never done without asking. Most drawers contained ordinary files. The bottom one was locked. I remembered the tiny brass key on his car ring. When the lock opened, I found a folder labeled Northlake Consulting. Inside were invoices for strategy services our company had supposedly purchased. The payments were large. $40,000, $60,000, $5,000, $90,000. I had never heard of Northlake Consulting. Bennett Cross Development had begun as my father's small construction firm. After he died, Daniel Vanessa, and I expanded it into a respected property company. I owned 40%. Daniel owned 30%. Vanessa owned 30%. No payment over $20,000. $5,000 could be approved without 2 partners. Every Northlake invoice carried Daniel's signature and a digital copy of mine. The signature looked perfect. It was not mine. My heartbreak changed shape. It became colder. I photographed every page. Beneath the invoices, I found a draft agreement transferring several company properties to a new holding firm. The document said the transfer would happen after my voluntary resignation. I had never agreed to resign. At the bottom was a note in Daniel's handwriting. C signs after medical leave. V handles board. C meant Claire. V meant Vanessa. I heard Daniel's car in the driveway. I put everything back, locked the drawer, and went upstairs. I removed my makeup, changed into an old t-shirt, and lay in bed facing the wall. Daniel entered 20 minutes later. smelling of hotel soap and Vanessa's jasmine perfume. He kissed my shoulder. "I'm sorry about dinner," he whispered. "The investors kept us forever." I forced my breathing to remain slow. "Was Vanessa there?" He paused for less than a second. "No. She went home early." That was his second lie of the night. The following morning, Daniel brought me coffee and suggested that I take time away from the company. He said, I seemed exhausted. He mentioned headaches I did not have and meetings I had never forgotten. "You've been under pressure since your father died," he said. "Maybe a short medical leave would help." The note in his drawer flashed through my mind. "Maybe you're right," I told him. Relief crossed his face before he hid it behind concern. At the office, Vanessa hugged me. "Happy anniversary," she said. "Did Daniel surprise you?" "He certainly did." She smiled because she did not hear the blade hidden inside my answer. That afternoon, I called Marcus Reed, a forensic accountant who had worked for my father. Marcus was 60, patient, and almost impossible to deceive. I told him I needed a quiet review of several company payments. "Does Daniel know?" he asked. "No." "Does Vanessa?" "No." Marcus became silent. "Then send me nothing from your company email," he said. "Meet me tomorrow at the old diner on Ashland. Bring paper copies. And Claire, act normal." That night, Daniel poured wine and asked if I had thought about taking leave. I smiled at the man who believed he knew me. "I think rest might be exactly what I need." He lifted his glass. I lifted mine, but I did not drink. I was no longer celebrating an anniversary. I was attending the opening ceremony of my own revenge. Tiuli, Tuomamian, The Pogwiph. Marcus studied the invoices in a corner booth while rain slid down the diner windows. He did not look surprised. That frightened me more than anger would have. "Northlake Consulting was formed 8 months ago," he said. "Its address is a private mailbox. The owner is hidden behind another company in Delaware." "Can you find the real owner?" "Yes. But if someone forged your authorization, this is bigger than an affair." I had not told him about Vanessa and Daniel. I told him then. Marcus removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Your father never trusted Daniel with unrestricted control." The sentence stung. "My father loved him." "Your father respected his ambition." That is not the same thing. Marcus agreed to trace the money. Before we separated, he gave me a small device and showed me how to copy files from Daniel's computer without changing their dates. For the next week, I played the tired wife. I arrived late at the office. I let Vanessa finish my sentences. I asked Daniel to handle 2 meetings. Each time I surrendered a small responsibility. They exchanged a look that said their plan was working. At home, I copied Daniel's files while he showered. I found messages between him and Vanessa, but they rarely wrote anything direct. They called me the obstacle. They discussed the transition and the clinic. One message from Vanessa said, "Once she signs, we control the vote." Daniel replied, "She'll sign. She trusts me." I wanted to break his laptop over the edge of the desk. Instead, I copied the message and closed the screen. 2 days later, Daniel insisted I see Dr. Lowell, a psychiatrist whose clinic was funded by one of our company foundations. He said he worried that grief and stress were clouding my judgment. I agreed. Dr. Lowell's office was warm and carefully quiet. He asked whether I misplaced objects, forgot names, or felt suspicious of people close to me. "Sometimes," I said. He wrote something. Then he suggested a mild sedative. I took the prescription but never filled it. That evening, I searched the doctor's name in Daniel's copied files. I found a proposed payment to Lowell Wellness, partners for $200,000. The payment description was Executive Health Consulting. Marcus called the next morning. Northlake is controlled by Vanessa, he said. The money moves from our company to Northlake, then to personal accounts, and a holding firm called VDC Capital. V for Vanessa. D for Daniel. C for Claire. Not you. Cross. I felt foolish for even imagining they would include me. Marcus continued. They have moved just over $3 million. They're also using company property as security for a private loan. If the loan fails, Bennett Cross could lose half its assets. Why would they destroy the company they want? Because they don't want the company. They want its properties. My father had bought forgotten warehouses and empty lots before Chicago neighborhoods became expensive. The land was now worth far more than our business itself. Daniel and Vanessa planned to remove me, transfer the properties, and leave the company carrying the debt. Still, something did not make sense. Why risk fake medical claims? Why not simply outvote me on ordinary business matters? Marcus pointed to my father's original partnership agreement. Because you hold a founder's veto. Property transfers require your real signature unless you are declared legally incapable. The clinic. The questions about memory. The sedative. They were building a record that I was mentally unfit. I went to my car and cried until my chest hurt. I cried for my marriage, for my friendship, and for the company my father had trusted me to protect. Then I washed my face with water from a bottle and called a lawyer. Evelyn Shaw had a reputation for destroying complicated fraud cases one quiet fact at a time. She listened without interrupting. Do not confront them, she said. Do not sign anything, and do not eat or drink anything Daniel prepares unless you can see it opened. The last warning chilled me. That night, I poured Daniel's wine into a plant when he turned away. The next morning, I woke with a headache anyway. For several days, I began to doubt myself. My keys appeared inside the freezer. A client file disappeared from my desk and turned up in my car. I missed a meeting because the time had changed on my calendar. Daniel watched each mistake with gentle concern. Vanessa started writing notes during our conversations. Then our housekeeper, Rosa, asked to speak with me privately. Mr. Bennett put your keys in the freezer, she whispered. I saw him. The world became steady again. I thanked her and asked her to tell no one. That afternoon, I installed a legal security camera in my private home office. After Evelyn confirmed, I had the right to record the room. The camera captured Daniel entering at 2 a.m, taking a folder and placing my reading glasses inside a filing cabinet. He was manufacturing my confusion. But the camera recorded something else. Daniel opened the piano bench and removed an old photograph. He stared at it for a long time before putting it into his pocket. The photograph had belonged to my father. I searched the piano bench after Daniel left. Beneath the lining, I found an envelope I had never seen. Inside was a second copy of the photograph. My father stood outside our first construction office, beside 3 younger people, Marcus, a woman I recognized as Vanessa's mother, and a man whose face had been torn away. On the back, my father had written, Summer 1994, before Richard betrayed us. Richard was Daniel's father. I called Marcus. When I described the photograph, he went completely quiet. Tell me the truth, I said. Not on the phone. We met at my father's old warehouse. Marcus arrived carrying a locked metal box. Your father asked me to keep this if anything happened to him, he said. I thought the past was buried. I was wrong. Inside the box were contracts, letters, and a newspaper clipping about a construction accident in 1995. One worker had died. The article blamed equipment failure. Marcus shook his head. Richard Bennett stole from your father's company. Vanessa's mother helped him hide it. When a worker discovered the fraud, Richard ordered unsafe work to continue before an inspection. The worker died. My stomach tightened. What did my father do? He forced Richard out. But he never reported everything. He feared the scandal would destroy dozens of innocent workers. Richard lost his money, his reputation, and eventually his life. And Daniel knows. I think he always knew. The affair was real. The theft was real. But beneath both was something older. Daniel had not married me only because he loved me. He had married the daughter of the man he blamed for destroying his father. Part 3. I drove home with the metal box in my trunk and 15 years of memories rearranging themselves. Daniel meeting me at a charity event. Daniel asking questions about my father's company. Daniel proposing after only 11 months. Had any of it been real? I wanted to believe at least part of our marriage had been honest. That hope became the cruelest thing I carried. Evelyn warned me that motive alone would not win a fraud case. We needed current evidence, cleanly collected. So I continued pretending. At breakfast, I told Daniel that Dr. Lowell might be right. I said I felt overwhelmed and wanted to step away from the company. He held my hand. I'm proud of you for taking care of yourself. His thumb moved over my wedding ring. Vanessa prepared temporary leave documents. He added, nothing permanent. Of course she had. I asked him to bring them home on Friday. Evelyn arranged for federal financial investigators to receive Marcus's report, but they needed time. Until they acted, my best protection was making Daniel and Vanessa believe I was surrendering. Friday evening, Vanessa arrived with flowers, soup, and a leather folder. She sat beside me on the sofa and spoke softly, as though I were ill. This only gives Daniel and me authority while you recover, she said. I turned pages slowly. Hidden among the medical leave forms was a transfer of voting rights. Another page authorized VDC Capital to manage company property. This is a lot, I said. Daniel brought 3 glasses of wine. I watched him open the bottle, but I still did not drink. I can explain every page, he said. I let my hand shake. Maybe tomorrow. I'm tired. Vanessa's smile tightened. The lender needs it tonight. That was the first time either of them admitted a lender existed. I looked at her. What lender? Daniel answered too quickly. She means the insurance company. Vanessa looked at him. For 1 second, their perfect performance cracked. I closed the folder. Tomorrow. Daniel's voice hardened. Claire, stop making everything difficult. The room became silent. Then he softened again. I'm sorry. I'm worried about you. They left the documents. After Vanessa went home, Daniel locked them in his desk. At 3 a.m, I woke to voices downstairs. Daniel was speaking on the phone. She didn't sign, he said. No, pushing harder will make her suspicious. Lowell can file the evaluation Monday. I recorded the conversation from the stairs. Then Daniel said something I had not expected. After the transfer, Vanessa gets her share. Then she's done. He was planning to betray Vanessa too. The next morning, I sent the recording to Evelyn. We agreed not to tell Vanessa yet. A person who believes she is safe behaves differently from a person who knows she has been used. On Monday, Dr. Lowell sent a formal opinion to the board stating that I showed signs of serious cognitive decline. He had met me once for 45 minutes. Vanessa called an emergency board meeting for Thursday. That gave us 3 days. Marcus traced the private loan to a fund controlled by Simon Vale, a developer famous for buying distressed companies. The loan would become due immediately if I was removed from management. VDC Capital would default, allowing Vale to claim 6 valuable properties. Daniel and Vanessa were not simply stealing from me. They were selling my father's land to Simon Vale and planning to blame the collapse on my supposed illness. Evelyn contacted the State Financial Crimes Unit. They agreed the case was strong, but they wanted the conspirators to confirm the plan in their own words. We needed a meeting. I gave them one. I called Vanessa and said I was ready to sign, but only if Daniel explained the loan to me, privately before the board meeting. I told her I did not trust my memory and did not want to embarrass myself. Vanessa sounded almost tender. Of course, she said. We'll protect you. The meeting took place Wednesday night in our company conference room. Investigators listened through a device hidden in my necklace. Evelyn waited 2 floors below. Daniel spread the documents across the table. Once you sign, you can rest, he said. And VDC takes control of the properties. Temporarily. Who owns VDC? He glanced at Vanessa. A group of investors. Including both of you. Vanessa leaned forward. Claire, details are what have been upsetting you. I looked directly at her. My father trusted your mother. Did she teach you how to steal from him? Or did Daniel? Vanessa went pale. Daniel stood. What are you talking about? I placed the old photograph on the table. For the first time since our anniversary, Daniel lost control. He swept the photograph onto the floor. Your father ruined mine, he said. Vanessa stared at him. Daniel, stop. But years of hidden anger had found an opening. Richard Bennett built that company with him. Daniel continued. Then your father threw him away and kept everything. Your father stole money and caused a man's death. That's the story your father paid people to believe. And marrying me was revenge? His face changed. There it was, the question he could not answer. Vanessa whispered, tell her. Daniel looked at me with something that resembled grief. At first, he said, I wanted access. Then I loved you. I almost wished he had lied. When did you stop? He looked toward the documents. That was his answer. Vanessa stood. This is over. I'm leaving. Daniel laughed once. You're not leaving with anything. She froze. VDC belongs to me, he said. The papers you signed assign your interest after the property transfer. Vanessa stared at him as if she had finally seen the man I saw in the hotel lobby. You said we would divide it. You believed what you wanted to believe. Then she slapped him. The sound echoed through the conference room. Daniel reached for my necklace. I stepped back, but he tore the chain free. The listening device struck the table. He looked from the device to me. Who is listening? The conference room doors opened. Evelyn entered with 2 investigators and a uniformed officer. Enough people, she said. Vanessa began talking before anyone asked her a question. She accused Daniel of designing the entire plan. Daniel accused her of forging my signature. Both forgot that the room's own security system stored audio in the cloud. The investigators took the documents and computers. They did not arrest anyone that night. Financial cases move carefully, Evelyn warned me. As Daniel and I stood alone in the lobby, he said, You think you won? I think you finally told the truth. He stepped close. You still signed the trust amendment last year. If we divorce, your shares become marital assets. I felt a flash of fear. Then he smiled. He still had one hidden weapon. Part 4, moi espiant. Lest, T-rap. The trust amendment was real. I remembered signing it after a Christmas dinner. Daniel had described it as routine estate planning. According to the document he now produced, half my company's shares would pass into a marital trust if either of us filed for divorce. Worse, Daniel had been named co-trustee. Evelyn examined the pages under bright light. The signature may be yours, she said, but the notarization is false. The notary was Vanessa. Still, proving fraud would take time. Daniel used the disputed trust to obtain a temporary court order preventing me from selling shares or changing company leadership. He moved out of our house and into a luxury apartment paid for through another hidden account. In public, he became the devoted husband of a mentally unwell woman. He released a statement saying, "I was experiencing a private health crisis." He claimed dishonest advisors were manipulating me. Several news sites repeated it. Clients called the office. Employees whispered when I entered. That humiliation almost broke me. Evidence can prove a crime, but it cannot stop strangers from believing the first convincing lie they hear. Then Rosa brought me a small padded envelope. "Mr. Bennett asked me to throw this away last month," she said. "I thought it belonged to you." Inside was a digital voice recorder. My father's recorder. The battery was dead, but Marcus restored the files. Most contained ordinary project notes. The final recording had been made 3 weeks before my father died. His voice filled Evelyn's office. If Claire ever hears this, then I waited too long to tell her the truth. I gripped the chair. My father explained that Richard Bennett had not acted alone. Vanessa's mother, Elaine Cross, had created the false invoices. When the worker threatened to report them, Richard ignored a safety shutdown to finish a project before auditors arrived. My father discovered the scheme afterward. Then he admitted his own failure. He had hidden part of the scandal to protect the company. He had paid the dead worker's family through a confidential settlement. He had allowed Richard and Elaine to leave instead of ensuring they faced criminal charges. I told myself I was saving innocent jobs, my father said. But silence does not bury wrongdoing. It plants it. His voice weakened. "Claire, if their children ever come to you carrying our old anger, do not answer deception with deception. Bring everything into the light, even my shame." I cried when the recording ended. For weeks, revenge had meant destroying Daniel and Vanessa. My father's final message changed what justice required. I would expose all of it, even the part that damaged his memory. We gave the recording and documents to investigators. The worker's daughter, Lee Moreno, was now a labor safety attorney in Milwaukee. I asked to meet her. Leah listened without expression as I told her what my father had hidden. "My mother received money," she said, "but she never received the truth. I'm sorry." "Sorry is not a repair." "No, it isn't." I offered her every record and promised the company would create a safety fund in her father's name if I regained control. "Why should I trust you?" she asked. "You shouldn't. Watch what I do." Lee agreed to help review the old files. She found a crucial link docker. Lowell had evaluated Daniel's father years earlier and had recently received money from a trust established by Daniel. The doctor was not a neutral professional. He was part of Daniel's revenge from the beginning. Meanwhile, Vanessa requested a meeting with me. She looked older without her polished confidence. "Daniel emptied the account he promised me," she said. "He says this was all my plan. Part of it was." "I can testify. You can confess." She flinched. I placed a cooperation agreement on the table. Evelyn had prepared it with prosecutors. It offered no immunity, only the possibility of reduced consequences if Vanessa returned the money and provided complete evidence. "You want me to destroy myself," she said. "You helped Daniel try to have me declared incompetent. You stole from our employees. You stood in my house and watched him drug my wine." Her eyes dropped. That confirmed a fear I had never proved. "What did he put in it? A sedative? Only a small amount?" My hands became cold. There is no small amount when you drug someone without permission. Vanessa began to cry. I felt no satisfaction. She signed. Her evidence revealed Daniel's final plan. At the upcoming annual investor gala, he intended to announce that the court had restricted my authority. Simon Vale would then offer to rescue the company through an emergency acquisition. Daniel would receive $12 million through an offshore agreement. The gala was 4 days away. We could have asked the court to stop it quietly. I chose another path. For 15 years, Daniel had built his power through appearances. He needed people to see him as calm, loyal, and reasonable while I appeared unstable. So I would let him stand beneath the brightest lights in Chicago and perform his final lie. Then I would take it away from him, one fact at a time. Evelyn coordinated with prosecutors. Marcus prepared a clear trail of every stolen dollar. Lee agreed to speak for her father. Vanessa would attend under supervision. I chose the same burgundy blouse I had worn on my anniversary. When I looked into the mirror, I no longer saw the woman waiting beside an empty chair. I saw the woman who had filled the room with witnesses. Perf. Off, Toughenart H. The annual gala took place in the same hotel where I had seen Daniel kiss Vanessa. He had selected the ballroom months earlier. I wondered if he appreciated the cruelty of the location, or if betrayal had become so ordinary to him that he never noticed. Nearly 400 investors, employees, clients, and reporters filled the room. Daniel stood onstage in a dark suit, composed and handsome. Behind him, a screen displayed photographs of buildings my father had begun and I had completed. I watched from a service corridor with Evelyn, Marcus, Leah, and 2 investigators. Daniel spoke about stability. He spoke about protecting employees. Then he lowered his voice and announced that I was unable to continue leading the company. My wife deserves compassion and privacy, he said. Today, our duty is to protect what she helped build. Some people applauded. Simon Vale walked onto the stage. He introduced his acquisition as a rescue plan. Before Daniel could invite the board to vote, I entered the ballroom. The applause died. I walked down the center aisle alone. Daniel's face remained calm, but his hand tightened around the microphone. "Claire," he said gently, "you shouldn't be here. That sentence has been your business plan for 8 months. A few people laughed uncertainly. I stepped onto the stage. Daniel moved close and whispered, "You are violating the court order." "No. The order prevents me from changing company control. It does not prevent me from speaking at my own gala." I turned toward the audience. "My husband says I am confused. So tonight, I brought records." The screen changed. Marcus displayed the North Lake invoices, the forged signatures, and the transfers to VDC Capital. Simple red lines traced company money into accounts controlled by Daniel and Vanessa. Daniel tried to take the presentation remote. It no longer worked. "These documents are stolen," he said. Evelyn walked onto the stage. "They were obtained through lawful subpoenas." The room erupted in whispers. Next came Dr. Lowell's payments and video of Daniel moving my possessions to make me question my memory. The security footage showed him placing my keys in the freezer. People stopped whispering. They stared. Daniel raised the microphone. "My wife edited these recordings because she is obsessed with punishing me." "For what?" I asked. He realized his mistake too late. "Why would I want to punish you, Daniel?" He said nothing. I displayed the old photograph. Then I played my father's recording. I did not remove his confession. The entire ballroom heard him admit that he had hidden the truth about Richard Bennett, Elaine Cross, and the worker who died. The screen showed a photograph of Miguel Moreno, Leah's father. Leah joined me onstage. "My father was not an accounting problem," she said. "He was a husband, a parent, and a man who tried to keep other workers safe." Powerful people buried the truth then. They will not bury it now. I announced that the company would release all historical records to authorities and establish the Miguel Moreno Worker Safety Fund with $20 million from property Daniel had attempted to transfer. It was not charity. It was a debt. Daniel stared at me. "You destroyed your own father's reputation," he said. "No." I told the truth he was too afraid to tell. Vanessa entered the ballroom. A wave of shock passed through the crowd. She walked onto the stage and admitted that she had forged my signature, created false invoices, and helped manufacture evidence of mental decline. She admitted the affair and the plan to seize the properties. Then she identified Daniel as the person who arranged the hidden payment with Simon Vale. Vale moved toward an exit. Investigators stopped him. Daniel finally lost the calm expression he had worn for 15 years. "She is lying to save herself." Vanessa looked at him. "I learned it from you." The final recording played. It was Daniel's voice from our conference. Room meeting. After the transfer, Vanessa gets her share. Then she's done. Then came his confession that he had married me for access. Daniel lunged toward the control table. 2 officers caught him before he reached it. No one applauded. Real justice is not a movie scene. It does not always arrive with cheering. Sometimes it enters as silence. The moment hundreds of people understand that the man they trusted has nowhere left to hide. Daniel was arrested on charges of conspiracy, wire fraud, forgery, theft, and attempted financial exploitation. Dr. Lowell was arrested the same night. Simon Vale was charged 2 weeks later. Vanessa pleaded guilty and returned nearly all the money she had received. Her cooperation reduced her sentence, but it did not erase it. The court invalidated the marital trust and upheld my founder's veto. Daniel fought every charge. During the trial, his lawyer described him as a wounded son seeking justice for his father. The jury listened to the recordings, studied the transfers, and watched the video of him planting my keys. They convicted him. He was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. Our divorce became final 3 months later. I did not visit him. I sold the Lincoln Park house because every room contained a version of me who had trusted him. Rosa helped me pack. When we reached the piano, I found the anniversary gift still hidden behind old music books. The silver watch had never been opened. I considered throwing it away. Instead, I donated it to an auction for the Miguel Moreno Fund. A union electrician bought it for $8,000. He said his father had died in a workplace accident too. That felt like the right ending for the gift. Bennett Cross Development changed its name to Moreno Bennett Properties. Some advisors told me using Miguel's name would remind clients of scandal. "Good," I said. "Memory keeps companies honest." Aaliyah became chair of our independent safety board. Marcus retired, though he still appeared every Tuesday with coffee and questions about our accounts. Rosa started her own cleaning company, and we gave her the contract for all our offices. I kept my promise to make our records public, including the evidence of my father's silence. For a while, angry strangers wrote that I had betrayed his legacy. They were wrong. A legacy is not protected by hiding its cracks. It is protected by repairing what those cracks harmed. 1 year after the gala, I returned to the hotel restaurant. I asked for the same table. The river shone beneath the city lights. The chandelier glowed above me. This time, there was still an empty chair across from mine, but I was not waiting for anyone. I ordered dinner. When the server poured champagne, she asked if I was celebrating something. "An anniversary," I said. She glanced at the empty chair. "Will someone be joining you?" I smiled. "No. This one belongs to me." I raised my glass to the window, to my father's imperfect truth, to Miguel Moreno, and to the woman I had become. Daniel believed revenge meant taking back what his father had lost. Vanessa believed it meant choosing the winning side. For a time, I believed it meant making them hurt as deeply as they had hurt me. But revenge was not the sweetest part. The sweetest part was knowing they had written a future in which I disappeared, and I had answered by becoming impossible to erase. I drank to that. Then I opened the new company report and began planning the next building. Because the best revenge was never watching their lives collapse. It was standing inside the life they tried to steal and realizing it still belonged to me.